All right. Hello, everyone. Hello, travelers. Welcome to Reach the World. For over 20 years, Reach the World has used virtual exchange to inspire youth to become curious, confident, and compassionate global citizens. My name is Tim, and this week, together with Citi's E for Education campaign, we're going on a journey to explore how global citizens can put that valuable skill set to work as part of a global career. Over the course of 5 days, we'll be connecting with Citi employees in 9 financial capitals across 6 continents. They have generously agreed to share their stories, observations, and tips for finding success in this highly interconnected global economy. For a complete listing of upcoming Citi Global Career Journey live stream events, check out athome.reachtheworld.org. Today, we're continuing the Citi Global Career Journey with a stop in New York's home of Reach the World's home of New York, New York. It's good to be in New York. We're going to speak with 4 Citi employees, Patricia Majeras, Ade Adunce, Marco Ferraro, and Jay Zhang, joining us today from the greater New York market. They're all colleagues in Citi's New York City market, and they're joining us today to talk about working, living, and thriving professionally in the Big Apple. So before we meet Tricia, Ade, Marco, and Jay, though, I want to welcome the teachers, students, Reach the World travelers, and early career professionals who are watching this live stream today. Welcome. Please use the YouTube chat bar to let us know you're here, where you're joining from, and to share any questions you have for our guests as we go. We'll get to as many questions as we can in the next 45 minutes. So with that, let's get underway. Tricia, Ade, Marco, Jay, welcome to Reach the World.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, all right. So we've got 4 wonderful Citi volunteers with us today. I'm going to try to tell you when I ask questions directly to you so that you know whose turn it is. And let's get started without delay. I want to start with our first topic today. We've got about 10 minutes to discuss this. So if each of our 4 Citi volunteers wouldn't mind spending 2 to 3 minutes on this, I would love to hear about your global career path. How did you start down the path of global citizenship? How did that turn into a career that demands global competency for success? It's different for everyone, and I'd love to hear your story. And Trish, why don't we start with you?
Sure, thanks, Tim. So my career journey started in high school when I went on a trip with a bunch of high school students from all around the United States, and we went to Peru for 3 weeks. And during that experience, I realized how much I love exploring and being immersed in another culture. And I also realized how rewarding it can be to be independent and step outside of your comfort zone. So throughout college, I went to Northwestern just out of Chicago because I grew up outside of New York and I wanted to experience another city. And throughout that experience, I did everything I could to step out of my comfort zone and saved up and traveled a bunch. And I wanted to continue that on my career path. So when looking at firms, I wanted one that had big global reach where I could talk to people from all around the world. And I definitely found that here at Citi. So that's a little bit about my journey, and thanks, Tim.
All right, yeah, Trish, wonderful. Marco, let's go to you next.
Perfect. Thanks for having me, Tim, and the whole Reach the World campaign. I really appreciate it. So I'm actually from Toronto, Canada, so similar to US, but a little bit different with its own cultural background. I'm also an Italian citizen, so I've kind of tried to use that, being a little bit different, coming from a different background, to my advantage. And so I actually started my career kind of journey here in New York, where I worked for MasterCard, another very global company, both Citi and MasterCard, and kind of everything that I've been looking for in a company has been globally based. Both personally, I think like traveling to a different city, learning a different culture, and really understanding where other people coming from is super interesting, and you can learn so much, both career and individually about yourself, just but being immersed in different cultures. And again, you kind of find that in New York City. It's one of the biggest like melting pots in the world with so many different cultures, and you definitely experience that being in New York.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, Marco. Jay, let's go over to you. Oh, Jay, you're muted. You got to turn your mic on.
Sorry, my bad.
Let me repeat. Thanks for having me here. I'll start by giving you guys some numbers as what I did for my study. I've been living in 8 cities, 3 countries over 27 years. That's how old I am apparently. They are Shanghai, which is where I grew up, 17, 18 years. Fredericton, Canada. I'm sure Marco knows that. That's in New Brunswick. I was there for 2 years-ish. Toronto, Ottawa, Waterloo, Vancouver, San Francisco, and New York. I started my career, because I did math, right? I started my career as a quantitative analyst on a buy-side fund in Vancouver, Canada. That was for 1 year. And then I came here to New York. I'm now in research. It's more market-oriented. It's more interpersonal. It's less of what I did, but it's more of a transform into what I want to do in the future. So, let me know if you have questions on how technology and quantitative stuff, like math stuff, connects to the market, connects to financial institution or anything like that, to the business. Yeah, that's about it.
Awesome, Jay, wonderful. Ade, let's go over to you. Last but not least.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. My career journey, I've been in the business for 20, 25 plus years, so quite a while. But kind of thinking way back and kind of where did it all start? I would say probably back in high school. I went to high school in England, just outside London. So I had the great opportunity to be able to go on various school trips to different countries. They're right there. So we're able to visit France, Germany, Holland, the USA, France, Germany, Holland, and so on. So, that kind of growing up in school, that was part of kind of what I did. And without question, that was what kind of ignited my interest in travel and, visiting the world. In terms of kind of specifically around career, I'd like to say I had some kind of master plan about what I wanted to do. And I'll be honest, that definitely was not the case. But what I will say about travel is that what it did do is it opened my eyes and it made me open to kind of seeking out new experiences, a new place to work, a new environment. So, since I started my career in finance, I was a trader for many years, and I had the opportunity to work in London, in Tokyo, in Singapore, or now New York. And like I said, this kind of the background and the kind of the experience I've had in travel I think is what has guided me along this path in finance and working in many different countries and working with many different people from different countries all over the world. And travel really has been the catalyst that has opened my mind to these experiences.
All right, wonderful. What a great introduction to this group. You've all come to this jobs and these careers from different ways, but there are really some common denominators in there too. It's interesting to hear. Fantastic. All right, so we've gotten an introduction to you and your global career path. I want to go on to topic 2 because this is a really good one. You live and work in the greater New York City area, which is a fascinating place to live and work. What intercultural skills must you understand to succeed in Citi's New York City offices? I know there are several, but generally speaking, what is it that you need to know to be successful in a global corporation, interacting with people from many different cultures on a daily basis? Trish, let's start with you again.
Sure. I think the most important part of being in such a big company is to network. You just have to talk to as many people as you can and find those connections that really stick with you. New York is so big and it's such a cultural hub. People come all over the world to work here, especially in finance. It's really energetic and exciting, and you have to make sure that you don't get lost. So you just want to keep the connections and keep talking to people.
Fantastic. That's some great advice, Marco. Let's go to you next.
Yeah, so I think, honestly, it's exactly what you said. You have to recognize the fact that there are so many cultures within one city, and everyone has such a different background, and everyone can bring something great and different to the table. And if you kind of go in with an open mind and understand that everyone here is coming from a different area, including you, you personally get a lot more out of every conversation you have, and you can kind of provide more every conversation you have as well, because your experience, your background, what you've been through is so much different than everyone else, and everyone here is usually very receptive to everyone's background and trying to learn and trying to better themselves through that. So I think just recognizing the fact that everyone here comes from somewhere different.
That's a great point, Marco. Jay and Ade, I'm going to pass you the same question, but I want to add something else onto it because you two have worked in a lot of different places also. In addition to what you need to know to really thrive in New York City, how is New York City unique as a market from some of the other places that you've worked? Well, Jay, we'll start with you.
Sure. What I was gonna say resonate what Marco and Trish mentioned. Obviously be collaborative, obviously be open-minded to different cultures. But let me add one point before I go to the other question: is that understand the background of other people, not just of like where you come from, where you lived, where you grew up, what did you, but also more importantly, I guess at least equally importantly, is your career background and educational background. Say, for example, when I talk to someone from business school, it will be more business oriented. But when I talk to someone from a technology background, I would want to understand technology language and transfer into business language. I think background is more diverse than just cultural background, that being very important. However, moving on to the second question, which is how is New York unique? I want to answer how is New York not unique. It's just, it's impossible to answer this question because it's like one of arguably the largest and most, one of the most important financial centers of the world. And I cannot think of how it's not unique, especially for us in Citi and other, financial institutions. I think it's just unique. Like for myself, I talked to team in Hong Kong, I talked to team in London, also Shanghai, which is where I grew up, and Toronto as well. It's just unique, and that it's unparalleled in different perspective. It's impossible to say that you can find something that's very similar. That's just as a matter of fact. I'm not just trying to be exaggerating. That's, to be honest, the fact. Okay, so that's about it.
All right, thanks, Jay. Ade?
Yeah, hi. What is New York? What's unique about New York? You could probably say this about a lot of different places in the world, but New York, without question, is a magnet for talent, particularly in finance, right? So, you just have to kind of say, I work in Wall Street, and that conjures up this very strong emotion about what it is you do. So, I would say New York is, if finance is an area in which you want to work in, New York, without question, is the place to be. Particularly when you're looking at looking at areas such as equity markets and debt markets. I work in the foreign exchange business at Citi. So what that means is by the very nature of what I'm doing on a daily basis, I'm talking to people literally all over the world. And that my experiences traveling and meeting people from different cultures all over the world has definitely been invaluable to that. So, having that kind of open-mindedness and that awareness about different cultures, how different people think, different senses of humor, is invaluable, particularly within kind of a global finance type career, where you are going to be interacting with people from, all over, from many different walks of life, different experiences, different backgrounds, and so on. So it's finance New York, without question. It's a magnet, right? Hyper competitive, but the saying goes: if you make it here, you can make it anywhere.
I love it. And while we're with you, just let me ask, it looks like you're really in the middle of a scene right now where there's a lot going on. Can you describe what you see when you sit at your desk? Where are you?
So I'm as you can see, I'm on Citi's one of our kind of global trading floors. So the foreign exchange and credit trading floor, and we're right on the Hudson River. So you probably can't see it. If you kind of straight over there is the Hudson River, and then everywhere else. Normally this room floor will be teeming with people, but unfortunately, due to the pandemic, it's actually there are only probably about 20% of people in the office at the moment. So it really is quite different, very, very quiet right now. And actually, a lot of what we do anyway is electronic. So the old days of people yelling down phones and screaming at each other probably gone, long gone. It's all very electronic, very, very quiet, all computer driven. But we do sit in these open plan floors, literally back to back with people. So communication is critical. So a lot of hand signaling to people, and this kind of constant dialogue about what's going on in markets.
All right, fascinating. Thank you for showing us around a little bit. I appreciate that. It's really interesting, especially for non-finance people, to see what that scene looks like. All right, fantastic. I want to jump ahead. We're a little ahead of schedule, but we have such a great group of on-camera travelers here today who are eager to ask their questions. I want to get right into topic 3, so we have some extra time for questions and answers. Topic 3, what global career advice can you share with our high school, college, and young career professionals who are watching? What practical steps can this audience take to make themselves strong job candidates for, not necessarily only a financial career, but a job that requires some level of global citizenship? Trish, sorry to put you on the spotlight, but we'll start with you again.
Sure, of course. I'd say just really keep doing what you're doing. Keep being proactive, keep being curious, keep asking questions. And when you're asking questions, always listen to the answers and be enthusiastic about everything that you're learning about, essentially. And also, like everyone else was saying, people come from all different backgrounds and walks of life. So don't assume that there's only one path to get where you're going. For example, I actually studied engineering in school. I thought that I wanted to do something more along those lines, like management consulting or something more software oriented. And then I tried it out and I figured out it wasn't for me. So don't assume that there's only one way to get where you're going. Keep your mind open and just keep asking questions. Keep challenging yourself.
Fantastic. That's great advice. Marco, let's switch over to you.
Yep. So I think like one of the biggest things that can kind of catapult you, especially into a global career path, and I'm sure Jay will echo, is learning like an analytical skill, maybe like a programming skill, something like that. Taking the time to really learn like some sort of language like that, even if you're not completely proficient, it can really open doors. I know for me, like I was a minor in computer science at school, and even just having like that background and that understanding of it has allowed me to think in different ways, and has really opened my eyes to and opened a lot of doors for me personally. And then the other big thing I think for everyone in this room is like any good manager, when you talk about like what their best, like what they want from their team, is they want a bunch of people who think differently, right? If you have a team of 10 and everyone's thinking the exact same thing, and there's no challenge on the status quo and what's going on, nothing really gets done, and there's no progress is made, no advances are made. It's all kind of just flatline, which is exactly what you can't have in a business like this, especially in a finance business where everything is changing and it's reacting to the world around you and it's moving fast. You need people who can kind of pick maybe an idea that doesn't look right, or something that looks off, or something where they can pick it from their background and be like, oh, well, I see it differently and this is why, and be able to explain that reasoning why. And that is really, really rewarded in this business. And I think in any business where there's a global aspect.
Thank you, Marco. That's great advice. Jay, let's switch to you.
Yeah, let me pick up from the programming. This is what I did for my education. So I just want to pick up that learning the quantitative stuff, learning programming, learning mathematics, engineering, it's obviously important. But in any job, except for maybe like doing engineering for engineering, I would say it's more of a tool set, especially in this finance setting or any other industry where we utilize it as a tool set. So understand it, do it, master it, but also understand there are much more than that. But that's about it. And go back to the question that you raised, I would say networking. I would say learn from people who are especially older than you, because they've apparently got more experience. Try to talk to people of different generation. I think it's a bit hard when I talk to someone who's much younger or older than me. It's a bit hard because we've got different cultural background and passive growth. But I think understanding different perspectives is super important. Pick up another language as well. That's helpful too. But then be open-minded, be proactive in learning. I think that's what it is when it comes to industry like us or anything else. That's about it.
Fantastic, Jay. Thank you. Ade, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's all great, fantastic points that the team here have made. I mean, I would echo a lot of those. If we think about people on this call, just maybe just finishing college or thinking about first steps within their career. What I would say is as I interview a lot of people, so the thing that obviously we look for technical aspects, so people have some understanding about the business, technical skills, language skills, all that's great stuff, important, and it's useful to have that in terms of filling out your resume. But when it comes to it, what I really like to see with people that I interview is that enthusiasm for wanting to come and work at Citi or wherever it is you're going to be interviewing, not necessarily in finance, wherever it is you're interviewing, and showing that you are eager you've got this real desire and, you've got this fire to kind of start to work, learn, and, this enthusiasm that you're going to be, you're very committed to kind of to the career path in which you're, to which you're applying. I mean, it's now, all that being said, it is a difficult thing. I'll be honest, like when I first left college, all those years ago, and was interviewing for different jobs, it wasn't clear to me what I wanted to do. But what I was I was very mindful of is that when I did finally accept a job offer and start work, I gave it my all. I wasn't going to go into it in halves. And what I would say is if you accept a job and your heart's not really in it, it's going to be very, very hard to succeed in that role, whatever it is. Whether it's finance, medicine. So your heart, whatever it is you finally decide to do, you have to ultimately just commit to it. Those first few years are all about learning, opening your mind to experiences, networking, and so on. And you can only do that with full commitment. It's very, very hard to succeed doing it with kind of your mind in somewhere else. Ultimately, as your career progresses, what you'll find naturally is that you start to specialize. And one kind of piece of advice I always give to people ultimately, and this is something that comes maybe a bit later on, is that in terms of success, the people who truly succeed, particularly I would say in finance, are the people who become very, very good at a specific skill or kind of thing that they have to do as part of their job, right? So, the reality is that it's very rare that jack of all trades become kind of are able to get that kind of success in their career. And so as you develop, what I always say to people is that look for that thing which you have that confidence that you are very, very good at, and then do everything you can in your power to excel in that thing. Because ultimately, as your career progresses, you move on to other jobs, work with other companies and so on. What they're seeking out are the experts, right? They're not looking for jack of all trades, people who may be good at this, may be good at that. So to the extent that you have that expertise and you've built up a reputation, companies will seek out that expertise. And they will, reward you handsomely to the extent that you have got that expertise. So, what does that mean for, say, someone applying for a job now? If you have specific skills, for example, we talk about technology, but right now, there's, obviously it's all about, there's a lot of huge focus around machine learning, web development skills, for example, marketing skills. around, so again, if whatever it is your skill is, you can use that. Kind of, I guess it goes without saying, but ultimately, what employers are looking at is for people who excel in a specific skill, because they're typically, as you build out a business, you're looking for someone to fill specific roles and functions. And to the extent that someone is applying for a job, has those skills, excels at them, is very good at them, has demonstrated the ability to succeed in those skills, there's going to be a lot of demand for you. So, you're starting out, just to summarize, it's all about enthusiasm, putting your heart in it, doing whatever you can to excel in the role, learn, open your mind to experiences, travel, if that opportunity is there. But ultimately, what you're looking to do to achieve a lot of success in any career is specialization, because that's ultimately what companies want. They want, round pegs for round holes. They want experts to do specific roles. And it, and I'll be honest, as I said, I don't want to make it sound like this is all kind of planned and specific. You kind of have to roll with the punches and kind of see where your career takes you. But these kind of guiding principles can be helpful in terms of helping you to see opportunities when they arise, and then you kind of go out and try to seize them with both hands.
Ade, that's some great advice. Thank you so much. I'm going to sort of switch our view here so we can see all the great travelers who are joining us today. I see a lot of them frantically taking notes as you all are speaking. Good for you guys. There's a lot to learn here, but I really want to let you get to your questions and ask them right to our New York crew. So if you have a question for a specific member of the Citi New York team, you can ask them by name, but I'll sort of come around. If it's just a general question for everyone, we can touch briefly on everyone. So Evelyn, you want to start with you? You're right in the middle of my screen. If you want to unmute yourself and ask your question, please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming here today and talking to us. So a question I have for everyone is, because you all have like successful global careers, what was the hardest and what was the easiest part of adapting to a new culture?
All right, yeah. Let's see here. Trish, I know you ended up really pretty close to where you started in New York, which is cool. Marco, I know you came from Canada, so you're pretty close to where you started. Maybe we can put this one to Jay, since he came from Shanghai.
Sure. It was tough. As a summary, it was tough. Being very frank and honest and open with you, I was more of a nerdy type of person. I speak little English. I see some faces are laughing, but that was who I was. I speak little English. I was more good in technical stuff and don't talk to people at the time. Work out from your comfort zone. Just don't care about what's happening now. Think about what you want to be. Like, be brave. Be brave. I know it's hard, right? When I talk about that, it's hard. Let me give an example. I was in Fredericton for my last 1 year of my high school study. Before that, I was in China. I was in Shanghai. Fredericton is a small town of 50,000 people. Yeah, Marco's smiling. I see that. 50,000 people, purely English and French environment, because they do speak French there, which is adding another layer of difficulty for me. I don't know anything else except for bonjour. So walk out from your comfort zone. There's no shortcut. There's no way to just make it like a magic. You have to understand it, be open-minded. I guess it's too colloquial, but just do it. That end of the day, it's just about that. Be brave and walk out from a comfort zone. I can't give you anything else than that. It's tough, but do it. It's rewarding as well, by the way. Yeah.
All right, Jay, thank you very much. Evelyn, great question. Thank you. Jennifer, let's switch to you. Do you want to ask a question?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer. Thank you guys for talking to us today. I really appreciate all the information. And I just wanted to ask, so since everyone is so far in their careers and they're established, are you happy with where you're at now? Or do you think you would want to go further on in your career, branch out in like a different country or different state or somewhere else like that?
Yeah, great question, Jennifer. Why don't we give that one to Trish and Marco? Trish, you want to go first?
Sure. Well, I'm not actually that far in my career yet. I've only been at Citi for a year now, just out of college. So I do have a lot that I still want to do and try out. Right now, we're in a rotational program. So we go through 2 different desks here and then kind of see where we want to go from there. So right now I'm trying trading, but you could also try sales or research. So they allow you to try different things here at Citi. And I also did choose to work here because it has that global reach. So if I want to try to work outside of the US at some point, it would facilitate me doing so. So yeah, I do have a lot that I still want to do, and I'm still very much learning myself.
Great, thanks, Trish. How about you, Marco?
Yeah, so I'm in a similar position as Trish, where we're in the same analyst class. Actually, work on the same floor, both in credit trading. So I think, and I kind of echo the same thoughts as Trish. I think when you're in an environment like sales and trading, specifically like within finance, it's a bunch of type A personalities. Everyone's constantly trying to do the best they can, and you're with a lot of incredibly smart people and people that have pushed themselves throughout their whole career, going from analyst to managing director. So even my bosses and his boss and his boss and everyone around you is always trying to do like that, get that next thing, do that next thing in the career. And I think that being in an environment like that is such a great experience because it pushes you to then continue, to not be complacent with where you are and to always like kind of want that next goal and to keep pushing and to keep improving yourself and not just be like, okay, I'm here. I made it to a great company with global reach, doing some very cool things. But being around everyone if it's not enough for them, it kind of pushes you to make it not enough for you. So I think you're always kind of, and I'm sure Jay and Ade can kind of echo that. But I think it kind of starts from the top and it pushes you as a younger person in the firm.
Mm-hmm. All right, Marco, thank you for that. Ade, if you want to say something, go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
Sure. No, I mean it's obviously as you progress in your career, at the top of a lot of our minds is promotion, and typically, initially in your career, your promotion is within the business, within where you're working. But as your career develops, it may be that promotions will take you into other businesses, or even leaving the firm you're working and joining another firm, staying in the same business, or starting a kind of a parallel career that's somewhat related, where you can apply your skill sets into another. That's one of the great things about a career at Citi, is that just within the firm, there are a huge number of opportunities, both obviously promotion at this kind of basis at the basic level, but also to travel around, move around the firm globally, either within the same business in a different country, or even potentially to work within another business and apply your skill sets to different product areas. Within the firm, we have there's a very well-developed and active kind of internal LinkedIn type website, which allows you to put in your skill sets, your career, your education background, and so on, all your characteristics, and it's able to kind of match you up to different potential roles within the company, not just within your own business, your current business area. So if you're in the mindset that you're looking for opportunities elsewhere, in another business and so on, Citi is definitely a firm that encourages that. Whether it's moving abroad or moving laterally into other businesses, and definitely within the business that I work in, which is a foreign exchange business, it's very, very common for people to move internationally and work in different centers. And actually, it's a key part of the success of the business is encouraging people to move around as a way to kind of deepen the knowledge about the firm's footprint across the business. So by someone from Brazil, so for example, our global business is run by someone from Brazil. Our business in London is run by someone my manager, who's based in London is Indian, and so on, right? So by actively encouraging people from different places in the world to move around the business, it really encourages this idea of different teams, knowledge sharing, and building up the kind of I guess the culture of the business as well. This idea of this international collaborative type business. So Citi is a great place for that. If that's something that you are that will be of interest to you in terms of your career.
It's a great perspective. It's all just so global. It's so interconnected. It's not just New York. It's New York and all the other offices working together. Trevelius, I want to give you a chance to ask a question too. Thanks for being here. Go ahead with your question.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all for being here. I really have enjoyed listening to everybody's stories and their experiences. So my question is, what is the importance about your global experience that you sought out in a work environment?
All right. Yeah, great question. Anybody want to jump in, or shall I call on somebody? Here, Jay, let's go back to you. Why is it important to work for a company that's so, that deals with people in countries around the world?
For me, it means opportunity. That's what it is. And given my experience and it's a bit unique and it's a bit personal, that I grew up in a Chinese culture, which is like different from Canada or US, which is where I've been in the recent 10 years. When I think about, for example, future development of my career, I may want to go back to APAC. I may want to go Hong Kong or Singapore or London. I don't know yet, but working at Citi or something similar with a global connection and exposure and a reputation, it means opportunity. It means infinite amount of opportunity. And it's rare that you can find such a thing. Citi has an employee number of 250,000 people, roughly about that number. I don't know the exact numbers, of course. And it's hard to find another place. Obviously there are, but it's one of the rare cases where we hire so many people across different functionalities in different regions. And it means opportunity to me, especially given that I'm young and I'm thinking about exploring. I think I'm young too. So, it's in parallel from that perspective.
Great answer, Jay.
I'll have some comments as well. I mean, I think if you look at our business, our client base is truly international. I mean, we have people working particularly within the foreign exchange business. It's something like 20 plus different countries. So if you just look at the makeup of our client base, even within the US, the clients we speak to are from everywhere. So it's critical as a business that we have a workforce that somewhat reflects the people that the clients that we're trying to work with, right? And if we don't, it's going to be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to be successful in a business, because having a workforce that reflects its clients is going to give that workforce so much more insight into what it takes to serve your clients better. And so, I would go so far as to say it's without that international makeup of Citi, without the international makeup that Citi has of its workforce, the bank just could not be as successful as it could be. It's really a critical element of our success.
It's a great addition. Thank you, Ade. Trevelius, thanks for the great question. We have two more questions. Soren and Stephen, why don't we go Soren first, and then Stephen will come to you next.
Yeah, sounds good. So I have a question, I think more specific for Ade, but it's just related to specialization in general. And I'm kind of in a position in my career where I've also just started out. I'm about a year and a half in with my current role and company, and kind of learning a little bit of everything, playing kind of the jack of all trades. And I definitely think to start, it's probably important to kind of figure out where you want to go and to kind of get a wide array of skills. But my question to you is more related to, when do you think it is important to actually specialize? Like how far into my career do I want to figure out, okay, I'm working in marketing, but okay, I want to do exactly this in marketing versus this. And also, what does kind of a large corporation like Citi look for? How much experience do they want in that certain skill or expertise?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned marketing. I mean, Citi, of course, has a humongous marketing team. So, when we think of Citi as a firm, it's not just finance. Obviously, there are many different roles, from marketing to public relations to finance, sales, trading, and so on, right? Procurement. But more specifically to your question, I mean, I wouldn't say that there's any specific aha moment where I suddenly realized that yes, this is where I want to kind of focus on and specialize in. What I will say is that very, very early on for me, I would say within a couple of years of working in finance, it was very clear to me what I was good at in this job. So at the time I was working I was an option trader, working for a Canadian bank in London. So it's one of those jobs where if you're not enjoying it, if your heart's not in it, it comes out very, very quickly, and it's very hard to kind of commit and stay in that job. So I was lucky enough that I had a skill set that would match quite well. So my suggestion is that as you're getting this general all-around experience, periodically from time to time, just pause and kind of pull out your little career journal. Think about the things you've just been doing, the skills you've been applying, the skills you've learned, and you'll very quickly, and kind of think about them, and maybe even think about ranking them, kind of what you learned from them, what you took away from them, the experiences you really valued, and then kind of use your skill set as a guidepost to when and where it is that you think you're going to want to specialize. So, it was very clear to me that I wanted to move into a trading kind of role, although I'm not in trading right now. I'm more on the sales side, but and it was definitely going to be around kind of a quantitative type role, trading in option markets and so on. So use your skill set and do these kind of periodic career reviews to kind of assess where you are. Think about the things that have really excited you and where you want to learn more, and that kind of, I think, will signal to you what it is and when to make that right move. And then once you make that decision, though, as I said, you go for it, and you kind of throw yourself into it. You do whatever you can to be the best in that thing, because ultimately, when to the second part of your question, when companies are looking to hire, they're looking for square pegs for square holes, round pegs for round holes, and so on, right? So typically when we hire in our business, there's a specific need. Now, obviously, different roles will require someone at different seniority levels. But regardless of that, seniority is really more a factor when it comes to whether or not the role is going to involve you managing other people. But ultimately, in terms of the specific skill set and the specialization, we're looking for the best, right? And so, again, once you make that decision and decide this is the thing I want to do whatever it is that you can in your power to be the best, or to be one of the best at that specific skill, whatever it is within the marketing field. And then, that's going to put you in a very, very strong position when it comes to, applying for jobs, because ultimately, when companies hire, they have very specific roles and skill sets in mind. It's very, very rare that a company hires for a generalist. It does happen, but it tends to be at the much more junior level. Once you get beyond that, 2 or 3 years out of your career, we're going to be wanting very, very specific skills for a specific role in the firm.
All right, Ade, thank you for that great response. Soren, thanks for the great question. Last but not least, Stephen, it's your turn. Go ahead with your question.
Thank you. You really, the last answer really hit on what I was wondering, which was, if your market or business, obviously like CT, it coexists, but if you're more into humanitarians, like what advice would you give a humanitarian study that wants to jump into CT but believes that he can't or she can't achieve it?
Yeah, if you don't mind, Stephen and Ade, I might throw this one to Marco and Trish just for a different perspective on that question. Trish, go ahead.
Sure. Well, in this analyst program, or when you're starting off early, they do look at people from different backgrounds. For example, I was an engineering background. I know other people in our class that were political science backgrounds. So I think the best thing that you can do is just talk to a bunch of people within the firm that you're trying to interview for, really learn about the process and how you can succeed at the process, and really show enthusiasm, do your research, figure out good answers for the basic questions like why Citi, and really just leverage your own story. I think that can be really important, is if you can leverage your own story in a way that really shows like what you can bring to the table.
Great advice, Trish. Marco, you want to close us out?
I get the honor.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I think like kind of what I echoed before, but the importance of knowing what you want to pursue is so key. And like you said, so let's say you have like you might want to work in finance, but it's important to you that you're doing like good as well. Like that you have some sort of humanitarian like background, something like that. Like find a company that pursues that, or that's important to it as well. Like you go on the Citi's website, you see Citi's values, and I can speak personally to it. And I think everyone can who works here. Like they're not just words on a website. Like Citi and the people who work here take that very seriously. And it's important that you coming to Citi agree with those values and kind of want to pursue them as well. And one of our key values is pursuing these kind of opportunities where not just do good work, but also do good as a person and by the firm and by the environment that the firm affects, and that everyone that you kind of touch on your way, both client-wise and through the bank itself. So I think like it's great that you want to have like that kind of impact. And I think that you wanting to have that kind of impact should be shown in the interview process. And as you're speaking to people like from Citi and as you're trying to network and find your way into the business, those are all assets that you should like definitely show and let people know that that's kind of what you're interested in. And it's not just straight finance, but you have like this overarching personality with multiple different interests. Because again, like when you're sitting next to someone you saw at the office, you see how close we all sit in normal times. It's not all 100% work all the time. Like you do understand what the people, like who you're working with, like on a personal level. And there's a lot of conversations like that. And that's a big piece of it, because especially when you're young in your career, you're not so specialized. You don't know everything yet. You're really learning. So having that kind of personality aspect and multiple different avenues and things that you're interested in are really important.
All right. Thank you for the great question, Stephen. Marco, thanks for the great answer to close us out. It's a great place for us to stop. Trisha, Ade, Marco, Jay, thank you so much for sharing your global career journeys with Reach the World today. Thank you also to our entire on-camera and live stream audiences for the wonderful questions. Reach the World Citi Global Career Journey continues this week with stops in Sao Paulo, we mentioned it on our call today, Singapore, Sydney, and more. How does living and working in those cities compare to what we just heard from this wonderful New York team? I will be asking Citi employees in those cities the same questions in the coming days so we can make head-to-head comparisons and you can take the next steps on your personal global career journeys. So special thanks to the Citi E4Education campaign and to all of our many Citi volunteers for making this experience possible. You can check out the full lineup of upcoming events at athome.reachtheworld.org. We're off to Sao Paulo, Brazil next, and I hope to see you all there. Thanks, have a great day.
Bye, everyone.